It was supposed to be the perfect family vacation. May 3rd, 2007, a warm evening in Praia da Luz, a small seaside resort in Portugal. The McCann family, visiting from the United Kingdom, had spent the day by the pool with their 3 children, Madeleine, just 3 years old, and her younger twin siblings. That night, after putting the children to bed in their holiday apartment, Kate and Gary McCann joined friends for dinner just 100 yards away. It was meant to be a peaceful night, but it would become one of the most infamous disappearances in history, because sometime between 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock p.m., little Madeleine McCann vanished from her bed without a trace. No break-in, no screams, no evidence of struggle, just an open window and a missing child. The search began almost instantly. Kate ran back to the dinner party, screaming, "Madeleine's gone." Within minutes, locals, tourists, and staff scoured the nearby streets and beaches, but there was nothing. No footprints, no witnesses, no sound. It was as if she had evaporated into thin air. What no one realized at that moment was that this case, one family's nightmare, would explode into a global media storm that would divide public opinion, expose corruption, and blur the line between truth and spectacle. When police arrived that night, chaos took over. Neighbors, friends, and hotel staff were walking in and out of the apartment. Potential evidence was trampled. Fingerprints were smudged. The Portuguese police, the Polícia Judiciária, weren't prepared for an international media circus. They treated it as a missing persons case, not a potential abduction, until it was too late. Within hours, journalists were descending on Praia da Luz. Camera flashes lit up the night. Madeleine's photo was everywhere. Her wide blue eyes and innocent smile burned into the world's memory. But behind the headlines, crucial mistakes were already sealing the case's fate. The initial investigation focused on the possibility of a kidnapping. Witnesses reported seeing a man carrying a child near the McCann's apartment around 10 o'clock p.m. Others claimed to have seen strange cars in the area earlier that week, but the leads were inconsistent. Police interviewed hundreds of people, including the McCann's friends, known as the Tapa 7, who had been dining with them that night. Their stories matched, but one thing became clear. In a case this massive, every inconsistency was magnified and twisted by the media. As days turned into weeks, frustration grew. There was no ransom demand, no clear suspect, and no physical evidence of Madeleine's fate. Then came the first turning point, when police began to suspect that the parents themselves might be involved. It was a shocking shift. Investigators believed that Madeleine might have accidentally died in the apartment, and that her parents covered it up. The theory was fueled by cadaver dogs alerting to the scent of blood and human remains inside the McCann's rental car, a car they didn't T-rent until weeks after the disappearance. The evidence was circumstantial, but the headlines didn't care. Overnight, the McCanns went from grieving parents to global suspects. British tabloids exploded. Every rumor became a headline. Every gesture, every tear, every word was dissected. TV stations replayed footage of Kate and Gary over and over, with anchors asking, "Are they hiding something?" Reporters camped outside their home. Psychics, conspiracy theorists, and internet detectives flooded online forums with wild claims. Meanwhile, the real investigation began to crumble under the weight of public hysteria. The media wasn't just reporting the story, it was rewriting it. By September 2007, 4 months after Madeleine vanished, Portuguese police formally named Kate and Gary McCann as Arguido's official suspects. But after intense international pressure and a lack of evidence, the case against them was dropped the following year. Still, the damage was done. Their reputations were shattered. Even as they continued to search for their daughter, millions of people had already made up their minds, one way or another. Some believed they were victims of a terrible crime. Others believed they were masterminds of a cover-up. The truth had been buried under headlines, bias, and noise. Over the years, countless theories have emerged. Some say Madeleine was abducted by a stranger who had been watching the family's routine, that someone slipped in through the patio door while the parents were at dinner. Others believe she was taken by a trafficking network operating along the Algarve coast. A few insist she died accidentally, and the truth was covered up. None of these theories have ever been proven. But what's undeniable is how the media machine transformed a tragedy into entertainment. News outlets competed for ratings. Tabloids published false stories that later led to massive defamation lawsuits. At one point, reporters even offered rewards for new information, turning locals into amateur detectives chasing fame. The McCanns' own efforts to find their daughter became both heroic and controversial. They hired private investigators, held press conferences, and launched massive international campaigns. Billboards, posters, and TV ads appeared across Europe, each with Madeleine's photo and the same haunting message: "Have you seen me?" The public donated millions to the Find Madeleine Fund. But with each year that passed, hope faded. The case evolved from a missing child investigation into a global media obsession, one that said more about society's hunger for drama than about justice itself. Then, years later, new developments reignited interest. In 2020, German authorities announced a suspect, Christian Bruckner, a convicted sex offender who had lived in Portugal at the time of Madeleine's disappearance. He had a history of assaults against women and children, and phone records placed him near Praia da Luz that night. For the first time in years, investigators felt they might finally be closing in. But even now, no conclusive evidence has tied Bruckner directly to Madeleine. He remains a suspect, not a killer. Through all of this, one fact remains: a 3-year-old girl disappeared, and the truth has never been proven. What we do know is that the world's obsession with the case may have done as much harm as good. Reporters manipulated facts, online mobs destroyed reputations, witnesses were intimidated, and police caught between politics, pressure, and chaos failed to follow key leads when they mattered most. Somewhere in the middle of all this noise, the real story, what actually happened to Madeleine McCann, was lost. Today, nearly 2 decades later, the McCanns continue to fight for answers. Every anniversary, Kate and Gary release statements reminding the world that Madeleine is still missing, still loved, and still worth finding. Advances in DNA technology, surveillance analysis, and digital forensics may yet uncover the truth. But one thing is certain: this case is not just about one child. It's a mirror held up to the world. It shows how media can shape reality, how public opinion can become its own trial, and how tragedy can turn into spectacle. The disappearance of Madeleine McCann is not just a mystery. It's a lesson in how truth can be buried under the weight of headlines, mistakes, and human judgment. Somewhere out there, someone knows what really happened on that quiet night in 2007. Until the day that truth is revealed, the question remains: Did we lose Madeleine? Or did the world simply stop looking for her the right way? This is Dark Case Files, and this was the disappearance of Madeleine McCann, the truth behind the media.